depending on how the financials work out, right?
Yeah.
You'll take a spin, but I guarantee you that won't be their only car that they have in the garage.
No, hell no. There'll be a nice car.
Yeah.
No, you can bet you can count on
it. We're still at this age where it's going to be a secondary vehicle. I remember just recently the Audi GT e-tron was doing the exact same thing. I almost did one too, but I already had like 4 vehicles in the garage. I'm like, what the hell do I need?
Well, yeah.
But he's like, Jason, it's $200 a month.
It's
all right,
so cheap not to do it.
It goes 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. I said, I know, man. Like I argued with myself a lot on that one, right?
Welcome to the Old Guys No Shit podcast in Dealercast Studios, where we bring together decades of automotive knowledge, all together in one place. Here's your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit.
Hey, what is going on, DC Nation? Thank you for joining us for the first episode of the Dealercast podcast. This is Old Guys That Know Shit. I am Jason Harris.
And I'm Rob Mudd.
And I'm Larry Bruce.
And these are old guys that
know shit.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm not sure. How should we take that?
I take it just the way you said it.
Exactly.
Right? We're old guys.
Right.
We know stuff.
That's right. You guys are old guys that know stuff, right? Like, hey, look, I remember not too long ago, we just had this kind of like open conversation about, hey, I got an idea. Let's get together and do a podcast about old guys that know some stuff. And I'm like, yes. And it's crazy to think that was only, a few weeks ago. And now here we are in the DC studio.
Right.
Check this thing out, guys.
This is professional now.
Right?
So
you had to come to the middle of America on
to
the
get it
snowiest
done.
day
But
of
hey,
the year
look,
so far.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, middle of nowhere, Iowa.
Right.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Guys, this is beautiful. This studio is awesome.
No, the guys at Mudd did a fantastic job. Mike, Deb, I don't know, man. I'm feeling a little nervous right now, right? Because
they're professionals, Larry.
Yes,
they will
exactly.
make you look and sound good.
I'm so glad of that.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Thank God somebody does,
guys. And I'm just thankful to have me here, guys, and be able to do this with you guys. I'm jacked and excited about this.
I think, Larry, so as we were talking the last couple of weeks ago, Larry and I and Jim Ziegler, about 10 years ago? Or was it 15 years ago?
What's that effect, Mike?
Right.
That's got to be the something effect. I'm going to go 20 because it was 2000, bro.
Yeah, man, time flies. And we were talking about doing a seminar series on the road show, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it never transpired. But then when we bumped in at Digital Dealer, and hey, Larry, what about that truth seminar we talked about putting on? Let's see if we can get that done. And then we ended up at a bar and we bumped into Jason. And I just met Jason for the very first time.
We were at a bar at a conference. Are you shitting me?
Well, he told me that too. He was like, dude, I don't ever do this.
I never go to
as he's doing shots.
I didn't never do shots. I stayed away from that. But no, I mean, like I was telling Jason, I've not partake in like what we did at Digital Dealer for a long time. And so to bump into him and to bump into you was like perfect. And we started saying, hey, what if we did this? And then now here we're doing it. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for making the trip.
Oh, thank you guys.
Oh, thanks for setting up this great studio. I mean, I think we all kind of filled in with our talent, right? We got the website built in 3 weeks? Not even 3 weeks.
Not even 3 weeks.
A couple of weeks. You got this podcast set up in just a couple of weeks. It's in this studio in just a couple of weeks. I mean, and nobody had to ask anybody to do anything. We just started working.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's amazing.
That's how you know you have a bunch of people with their GSD, right? Their get shit done degrees.
Yes,
right.
They got to know shit first.
You got to know shit, and then you get a GSD.
Because the small amount of communication that actually went back and forth between the three of us, but then everything got executed so that
it's amazing.
Be here today was incredibly impressive.
Because really, we know the people that work here. Mike's been here. What did he say? He was the new guy.
He's the FNG at 26 years. Yeah.
They know what they're doing, and so when you work with professional people that know what they are doing, plus they love what they do, you can get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the big reason why we formed this podcast is to talk real people talking about real things and getting things done.
Yes.
And the vision or what we currently see now in the market today, right?
Mm-hmm. And guys, and that's kind of where to kind of kick off this series, right? I actually love starting off podcasts. Everybody knows if they watch my podcast, they know how I love starting them off. I am truly fascinated how people get into the automotive industry because I don't believe anybody just wakes up one day and goes, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to go spend a lifelong career in there. Mm-hmm. So let's start this whole series off kind of there, guys. Like, how in the world did you guys get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Well, believe it or not, I had the right last name. I was kind of born into it to a certain degree. My dad started our agency back in '81. In 1984, he spoke at NADA. And went from a small general marketing agency to car dealers calling them up to, hey, let's work with car guys. And so in 84, 85, I graduated high school, went to the University of Iowa. 89, I graduated. 90, Dad said, go get a job before you come to work for me. So I went to Chicago, sold shipping equipment. I wasn't Pitney Bowes. I was the competitor, which no one remembers who that is. So it was kind of a tough knocking on door job, but it teaches you something. And then back in 1992, I came back to home, Cedar Falls, and I've been working in the family business ever since. And it's been a great run. I'm in 33 years, I think. But I've been in it for my whole life because when you start, Larry, entrepreneurship, when you start, everyone that's around you in your circle is in it too. So I just kind of grew up in it, but I love it. It's been great to my family. I've met great people, you two guys, great dealers. It's taken me around the world, so I can't. I can just be grateful.
The car business is great. Yeah. Mine starts at in the Safeway checkout line.
Safeway checkout line, okay.
In groceries. I was selling. I just got out of working for IBM, and I was selling these packages for student loan stuff, and I'm in the grocery store line, and there's this guy behind me, and we get to chatting it up, and turns out the guy's name is Jim Simpson, first guy I went to work with. He's talking to me in the grocery store line, and he's trying to you got a good personality. You should come sell cars. I'm like, yeah, right. No thanks, man. And as we get to talking more, we're continuing to go down this road, and he closes the deal with this. Oh, and you get a free car. Wait, what?
Demo.
Demo. Yes. Hold on, because at the time I'm driving this 78 Buick Century, 4-door. But the two back doors won't.
That car was bulletproof.
Yeah, it was.
Let's not talk too much.
But you just needed a little rope, man, because I had the two back doors held together. They were held. They would come up. They didn't latch, so there was a rope between them, holding the doors in.
That's awesome.
And so I'm like, well, it looks like I'm fixing to be a car salesman. And so I get to the dealership. He brings me into Ron Kraft's office, and we're all talking about getting to work. I end up getting well, obviously I end up getting hired, and I had to work leads, and so I'm talking to these guys. I said, well, wait, let me see if I can get this straight. You mean people come to you to buy stuff?
Right.
You don't have to just make.
Yeah, I don't have to make phone calls, and I don't have to go. I don't go knock on a door. No, they come right here. Okay, and they're interested. That's calling up, right? And so Jim's bringing me down to my office, and there's Ron Kraft's got this showroom floor, these two offices on either side, on left and right side. And that's what like a row of offices. And he's going to say, we're going to put you down here on the end of death row. It's like, great. That sounds like a great way to start. This is awesome.
When do I get probation?
Yes, exactly. And the rest is pretty much history. I mean, I got to where I loved it. I mean, I couldn't stand working for IBM because you had to beg for a raise. You had to know somebody, kiss somebody's ass to get a raise. Here, you want a raise? Go work harder.
Right.
Hey, I can live with that. That's something I can work with. And we sold. That was the great time of selling cars, man. We had so much fun. I have so many characters in that. I mean, it could be a whole show, right?
I think that might be an episode we might have to do, because I'm with you. There always seems to be there was 2 or 3 very specific characters that I truly believed existed at every single dealership.
Yes, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
They did, right?
Yes.
And
they made it fun.
And they made it fun, right? The one total goofball, right?
Right.
May or may not even show up for a shift. You don't know.
You don't know.
All right. But could still sell cars and had a joke for every dumb thing, no matter what, right? There was that person, right?
Yeah.
How'd you get in the business?
I got conned into the business.
Oh.
So here's what I usually find. I usually find that, and it's funny because we have actually all 3 here. I find that, I've done over 1,700 podcasts. So I've talked to a lot of people in this industry, right? And I found, in a pattern, there's only usually 3 ways you get in this business, right? You either were born into it, right? I think my kids might kind of go into that as well, because they kind of just grew up watching me do it. Yep. They're falling in love with cars. So it's going to be fun to see that happen. You stumble your way into it through a fluke series of events, right? Or like me, you got conned into it. So I had a roommate, came home one day, and I'm sitting there, and he left his pay stubs on the coffee table. I'm looking at it, and I'm going, what the hell are these? And he's like, oh yeah, that's my commission check for the last week. There's not a chance in hell you made this much money. You are a complete moron. There's no way you're making this much money. Oh, yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm selling cars. I said, dude, if you can make that much money selling cars, then I should be able to do at least 3 times that, because you are literally a legit moron, right? And he's like, well, you know what? I'll make you a bet. I'll bet you $500 you can't sell more cars than me. I said, you know what? I'll take that bet. Now, little did I know that he signed me up for a 2-week unpaid training program that if I was hired, he got paid $1,500 for me being hired at the dealership. So I totally I totally got conned into it, right? I did. The hey, no education, no experience, come make 6 figures a year. Let's do that. I remember getting into this water cooler of a hotel, conference room or something like that. Yeah. And they're like, the old guy comes out. I mean, I swear, still smoking or something like that. Even though I don't even know how that was possible, or just smelled so much of smoke, you could just fill the room with it. And he comes in, first thing he says, I'm only taking 3 of you. So if you want to leave now. It was like
thin the herd.
Yeah, just right off the bat. Cut them right now.
Yeah, there's 30 of us there, and I'm like, yeah, sure as shit. A handful of people just walked out, and I'm like, all right,
he's done this before.
Let's see where this goes. I'm kind of fascinated with this. This kind of feels like like Survivor. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm in. Let's do this. Yeah,
I'm not going to vote myself off.
That's right. No.
So of course I finished the program. I got in, and man, I just got bit by the bug. Boy, I always loved cars growing up, so it wasn't a huge stretch.
Yeah, no doubt.
I drag race cars. I loved working on cars. I remember as a young kid, with my dad, we used to play this game. He used to sell baseball cards on the road. That's how I learned how to sell stuff. Wow. Right? Was going to these baseball conventions. You remember back in the early 80s and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That was big. It was big business, So that's how I kind of had to learn to sell in that transition. But I remember playing this game with him when we went travel. As a car was approaching, you had to guess the make and model of it. And the farther it was away, the more points you got. So just by the silhouette of the car and its headlights, you had to guess it. So yeah, I think I was always destined to get into the car business for sure.
That's a good story, man. That's a good story.
That's good. Well, hey, guys, we're here. We're in the business. And so today, guys, to really kick off this series, it's just really kind of funny because we want to get into electric vehicles, right? And the dealership is tomorrow. So it's so ironic because we've been talking about the dealerships that we started in, and now we're going to go, okay, well, let's just transition this way forward, and it's kind of it's like horse and buggy days. No, we're going to come in with, electric vehicles, the dealerships of tomorrow. So I would I'll start this off, guys. What kind of challenges do you think dealerships are facing, which is kind of that transition, right?
Well, I will start by saying no one can charge their cars.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about thinking about this today, and I'm looking out my window, right, at the hotel, and there are literally 10 chargers.
Mine too. Yeah.
And they're all empty. Okay, but they look really pretty. They've got these really cool blue lights, and I'm looking at them going, okay, we're about to talk about this. Here's a completely empty set of empty set of chargers. And it goes back to, I had this conversation with an Uber driver about electric cars. And I'm like, look, I don't know when you'll be able to run, electricity up to a gas station and plug it in and have it charge my car in the same amount of time it takes for me to put gas in it. When that happens, maybe then you have something going.
And we have seen some countries where they have executed something similar to that.
Something close. I mean, but it still takes a long time to charge.
It's still about a 15 or 20 minute to get the 60.
But it'll feel like 20 hours.
Oh God! Well, in the instantaneous world, it'll feel longer than that.
No, but I do think, and I love the fact you brought up the gas stations because I think there's something super interesting about reselling electricity. The margins, guys, are huge. Okay, so you're talking about in fuel, you can talk about margins that are single-digit margins, okay? All right, margins in reselling electricity are easily between 30 to 70%. The margin is. So, like, if I'm a gas station, I don't know, I would actually be really interested in how I could get a charger kind of in my place because, boy, I can make a whole hell of a lot more money on that than I can with others. But here's where I really want to go with this with you guys because I'm thinking more at the dealership.
Yep.
What does the dealership need to kind of focus? I do want to get into infrastructure, so I'm going to go back to that. But I want to get into right now dealerships are sitting with these EVs. There's tons of them just sitting on the lots. All right, so the dealerships never really got themselves prepared. They never really kind of transitioned to.
I don't know. I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
No.
So then be point. Why are they sitting on the lot?
They're sitting on the lot because realistically, what we just talked about. I mean, if you ask 100 customers what's holding them back from an EV, they'll tell you they're worried about they're going to get stuck somewhere and can't charge it. And so the distance or that distance it can travel or that charging travel and then charging time. They're all worried about charging time. Am I late for work? How many of us have been late for work and you need to stop in and you only get like 2 gallons because you really got to go? We've all done it. Yeah. So, I mean, they're worried about that. They're worried about, of course, you see the fires and stuff. That safety concern still sits in their head. It's that's holding them back. And then the only way you could get it going, it's just like the way General Motors sold the Aztec, right? I mean, the only way you're going to get an Aztec off the freaking lot is put a big ass rebate on this thing, and then you're going to take the guy who can't buy anything and say, this is what you get. Right? But why do I get that?
I thought you just put a tent out the back of it.
No, they tried that. They gave it a shot, and it was like, no, that's not going to do it.
Well, and then the price of these vehicles as well.
Oh, right? Well, yeah, the price is another whole problem in and of itself. But then you start there, right? So what do? We buy the customer that because that's what we do, and so we convince the government. Here's a $7,500 credit, and that does start to get some people moving because they're like, well, for $7,500, yeah, I'll take a look. But then you've got to worry about I think the biggest problem that the car dealers will have from this point forward is the secondary market.
Right, exactly.
The secondary market is where it's going to kill them because it's so volatile right now. I mean, there are guys who are really good at the secondary market on EVs, but they're only a small handful, and even they get caught. Where I mean, you had a Tesla Model 3 in what was this a year ago, and it was worth probably 60 grand, and then Tesla dropped the new ones to 40. Yep. And now what you bought at 60 is worth 20.
Well, you're 100% right. I mean, EVs right now have all sit in the premium category because of their pricing.
Right.
But we're seeing manufacturers already start to address that, right?
They're going to have to subvent leases. So we've got a
hardcore. Well, that's Tesla's model, right?
But even like the new Chevy Equinox EV is within like $1,500 of its ICE vehicle.
Right.
Like so like we are already beginning to see that transition, because I agree with you. They had to come out of a premium price point moving forward. Now going back to the infrastructure thing, it's funny. Like I actually did see this online somewhere, right? And it was an ad for a horse and carriage company. All right, and literally their pitch was, all right, well, you can feed your horse hay anywhere you want to go. Right? Like, so like you had to think at some point in time, we didn't have gas stations all over. The infrastructure for just fuel alone wasn't there. In fact, you they had to sell it in cans, all right? And you had to load up on it and hope that you had enough cans to get to your destination. Of course, people in the horse and buggy side were like, well, you can feed your horse anywhere. You don't have to do this. So like, it's funny to see how many of these things, but it's an infrastructure thing and a pricing structure for sure.
Well, I mean, with what happened first, and this is what's happening today. Is what happened first is Ford came along and did the mass production where it wasn't, because the first vehicles were very expensive.
Yeah.
But when Ford started mass producing them, they became.
Do you see all
every man's car
it's the same cycle. Yeah, it's
all
the
these
same
very
cycle.
similarities.
Right. So
and
then all of a sudden the
the
price comes down. Everybody can afford it. Now that everybody can afford it, we need to make infrastructure. We got to start building roads. We got to start building gas stations.
Right.
We got, of course, it doesn't hurt at the gas station.
Well, you also gave people something they never had before.
Yeah,
The ability to move
long distance at a very fast pace.
Yes.
Right.
And go where they want to go and get back when they want to get back.
Right. So you make all of this affordable, mobility affordable, right? So you make mobility affordable. You then turn around and you realize that all this infrastructure is getting built, but the infrastructure is getting built because we're now into oil. And oil makes really, really big money. Yeah. And so
especially when you have plenty of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next thing you know, you've got oil companies building roads, they're building gas stations. They're supporting this infrastructure that they see happening because they see that money start to really flow in. And to your point, like the margins on electricity. Right. So, but the margins on electricity, making a 80% margin on 10% of the people doesn't overcome making a 30% margin on everybody.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I think. I think a lot of people out there, and Rob, I'd love to get your thoughts on this because we've heard this many times that the vehicles are going away. I'm in the impression that they're not, because it's just, again, it's an adoption age. Similar to the horse and buggy and the mass production of the car. There's so many similarities.
So one of the things I think is a problem with electric, or a challenge, I should say, is it seems like the industry has forgotten what a promotion is, or how to run a promotion, or how to put a promotion.
Oh no, you just put it online and they come by.
Yeah, well,
haven't you got
work.
the new deal?
Yeah, I mean, people are talking about that, but there's other ways to do it and be more successful.
So you're saying the Field of Dreams strategy doesn't work?
If you build it, they will come.
Not if it's not baseball.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
We work with a dealer out in Colorado. And he's got about 150 Leaf electric vehicles on his lot. And he blows them out. And you know how he does it? Get your new Leaf for $5 a month.
Right.
Because with the $7,500 credit, state incentives, lease these things. So you can't afford not to get one. Now for $5, I can have...
It's a great golf cart.
It's a great deal.
It's cheaper than a golf cart.
Absolutely.
You've got golf cart communities that spend more.
Absolutely. So depending on how the financials work out, right, you'll take a spin. But I guarantee you that won't be their only car that they have in the garage.
No, hell no. There'll be a nice car.
Yeah.
You can bet you can count on it.
We're still at this age where it's going to be a secondary vehicle. I remember just recently the Audi GT e-tron was doing the exact same thing. I almost did one too, but I already had 4 vehicles in the garage. I'm like, what the hell do I need?
Why? Yeah.
But he's like, Jason, it's $200 a month.
It's
all right,
so cheap to do it.
It goes 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. I said, I know, man. I argued with myself a lot on that one, right? But
my first new car out of college, was Pontiac Grand Am.
Nice.
2-door, right?
Grand Am. Yeah.
For a $199 a month lease.
Yes. I remember that promotion.
And I got down on it. I loved it. I'm like, man, this is awesome. Well, $5 month lease is more awesome.
Yeah, it's
right?
even exactly.
And so depending on where you live, if you're in the city, I was in Chicago for 20 some odd years. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
But now I'm in Iowa. It doesn't make sense
no.
because it's 30 or 25 degrees cold outside.
Yeah.
And possibly tomorrow will be 25 below, maybe.
Right.
It's not the same.
But I do think we are going to lease our way to adoption, right? I mean, I think that we've seen this happen in the past.
Well,
You're not going to
You're
not going to get that done until you get the secondary market straightened out
Right.
because
Well,
the
the
lease
OEM's gonna-
depends on the lease
Right.
depends on the residual
When it comes-
and the residual depends on the secondary market.
Now,
Well,
when it
the
comes-
residual's a guess.
Yes.
Oh, it's a 100% guess
guess,
right now.
Right.
Oh,
And
it's
the
going
residual's so high that it can get to a 5-hour lease.
Yeah, well, at the end of the
Remember when-
day, what are you going to do with that car when you? Because the manufacturer's going to get it back. He's not
Yeah,
going
he's
to
gonna get
resell
that.
it.
No.
There's no way he gets rid of it.
No.
And to Tesla's point, I mean, until you own the car, the finance, and you take back the car, because you don't see
Right.
Teslas
Right.
on the secondary market much.
Yes.
The Teslas that they take back, they're turning into autonomous cars. They're going. The whole idea is to eventually have these cars that are autonomous that pick up and drive themselves.
It can be interchanged with different widget type application to the interior,
Right.
to the how you.
I just took an autonomous taxi
You took one of those Waymos?
in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's a Waymo, yeah.
I was like, I'm literally watching. So I'm standing outside of the hotel. I'm literally watching these cars roll in. Nobody in the driver's seat. I mean, of course, camera gear all over
right.
thing, right? But like, I'm literally watching people get in, it dart off with no driver in it, and I'm going,
Wow,
dude, this is cool. Like, I mean,
that sounds like Disney.
That wasn't my first
like-
thought. No.
I enjoyed it. I got in it. I'm like, I could definitely see just like the opportunity here, especially if you have to travel a lot, if you got to do some business, or if you just want to engage with people. It's like I remember, when I first launched my agency, I did the calculation one time. I actually was spending 2.5 months a year
Straight in
with hands
your
on
car.
a steering wheel, right? Because I was doing about 5,000 miles a month. Right. And I was like, man, that's 2.5 months a year of my life that's gone holding on to a steering
It's where you thought the best.
I would gladly give it up. I'd gladly let someone else take the steering.
Oh, I'd love to have someone else drive too, but I'm not so sure if I want no one driving.
Yeah, no one driving. But it's funny you bring that up because it would be 2 years ago, I guess this last May, that I let my lease go back and I didn't get another car.
Yeah, you were talking about last night.
I have not had a car for 2 years.
But you live in the city.
But I live in the city,
Okay.
and I Uber or Lyft wherever I go, and and of course, mine's a different situation. Like I was telling Rob last night, I mean, I don't get just a car. Yeah, and that's not me. So if I'm buying a car or leasing a car for an everyday driver, it's not going to be just a car.
It's going to cost me $6-7 grand a month.
Easily. It's not going to be just a car. So, but this has been, I didn't miss it as much as now, I'm not other cars that I can drive, but when I want to drive, but I don't miss it like I thought I would. And I'm not inconvenienced as I thought I would.
That is the key.
That is the key.
The inconvenience.
The convenience,
right? And that's
right.
what the digital boom has done. Amazon can deliver your stuff tomorrow, and you don't have to do anything. So
Right.
Convenience is key.
Right.
And anything that isn't convenient is a problem.
It's a problem, 100%. If it's not easy, I'm not doing it.
So I wanted to go back because we touched a little bit on it, but I think I want to go a little bit farther down that rabbit hole when we were talking a little bit about rebates in the secondary market, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I just got back from used car week, right? So I just spent 4 days with a bunch of used cars.
But a bunch of used car
right?
guys.
Woo. Used car guys.
Yeah, that's
I love you
fun.
guys, but man, you are a whole nother level.
They're hardcore,
in the automotive
baby.
industry.
Hardcore.
But I will say, most of the people I was talking to love the pre-owned electric vehicles right now. I mean, the Model 3, almost all of them are sitting between $20,000 and $25,000. All right. Depending on your state, you can get up to a $4,500 rebate on the secondary market.
I didn't know that on the secondary market.
Secondary market, yes. Depending.
Yeah,
on the state.
like I said, you've got to get that straight. But the problem is that you keep incentivizing the secondary market. You keep having these wild swings in price, and it doesn't really matter to me as the guy who's buying it. I've got to look at that car, and I know I've got to move that car in 3 weeks. If I don't, I'm liable to get stuck with a really big bill, right? And so it's you got to be this is turn and burn land, right? For a secondary vehicle, you cannot hold on to that thing. If that thing's 60 days old, you're liable to get screwed.
And that's why, guys, at that price point, you got to think. I mean, think about that. These things are retailing, all right, for 20 to 25 grand. You're getting, depending on your state, around $4,500 rebate on it. I mean, just from the consumer's perspective, all right, this is a relatively low mileage because most of them come in pretty low mileage, right? If you look at any other car that's 3 years old and then compare it to a 3-year-old Tesla, it is wildly different.
Well, think of the economics that you just described
for that kind of price.
For $7,500 on the front side, the first sell, they give a discount, right? So someone's eating that. The government's eating that.
No, we're eating that. The government doesn't have its own money.
Then on the second time, they're getting $4,500. That's $12 grand, and cars retail and secondary for $25,000. That's 25% of the cost of a secondary car.
You're paying for your tax dollars are paying for.
So that's not sustainable.
It's not. But that's why these used car dealerships are loving it. Right.
Well,
now.
This
is this thing up.
It's a temporary thing,
guys. It's like a cash for clunkers program.
Right. 100%.
I mean, this is a full-on cash grab. So it's like I actually do find the secondary market right now to be incredibly strong.
It's strong for retail, but the problem is I need it to be strong for resell, not for retail. Right. In order to keep a lease program going on the front side, on the new car side, these residuals have to be higher, and they're going to be ridiculously low. And you're driving them down with all this government incentive. You're driving the resell too far down. That wholesale market's being driven too far down. The real cost of that car is $25 grand less $12,500. It's in the it's below 10 grand, meaning that I can't keep my residual cost up over here on this side because I'm going to get screwed on the backside. You're not helping yourself. You're moving the cars out. Yes, you're getting them out of the market, right? But you're not helping the lease. Eventually this whole bubble is going to pop. Yep. And you're going to be, and whoever's got whoever's got the electric vehicles at the
end on the third turn.
Yeah, you're like the guy doing the little chair game, right? And
musical chairs.
You're in musical chairs, and you're the guy without a seat. I don't want to be that guy.
Not only do you not have a seat, but you got to pony up another 10 to 12 grand for a new battery. New battery.
Yeah, and the battery is.
You got to get rid of the old one.
Well, I truly think Musk will figure. I think he'll bring the cost of a battery down.
He has figured it out already.
He's got that.
So there's a couple of things on the battery side. I love you guys bringing this up. So the first EVs out there had there were one large cell battery.
Yeah.
So like as the battery degraded, yes, you had to replace the entire effing thing. GM actually kind of outthought Elon on this one, which I thought was kind of interesting. They actually introduced a multi-cell solution. So as the battery degenerates, we can replace a singular cell for a couple grand.
Right.
Which is no different than me having to replace.
So an engine.
It's no different than me having to. So they have figured this out. Now speaking of like the batteries themselves, how fast? I mean, we're seeing like Teslas out there with 150,000 miles on them that are still hitting 92, 93%
efficiency on that battery. Yeah,
exactly. So like it's not falling apart that
no, it's not. There's no. I think Elon's got it figured out, and I mean, I think I said when I remember talking to a guy when Tesla first came out, and they were like, they're just never going to make it as a car company. I said, dude, you don't understand. They're not a car company.
No. They're a computer company.
Yeah, they're a technology company, but really they're a battery company, and they're going to figure out everything. We were talking about it yesterday. Everything comes down to energy. Yep. Low energy cost make everything else cheaper.
100%.
And then so they're going to figure out how to make your cell phone battery last damn near forever. So eventually all Apple will be able to do is make the battery charge seem to you to go faster so they can get a new one sold.
From a programming perspective.
I can't, but not to say that Apple's really doing that. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, so at the end of the day, he's going to figure out energy storage. And then when you figure out cheap energy then you've got something moving. Now you're Tony Stark.
Yes.
Right? Yep. Right. You figured out sustainable energy, or at least very, very close to long-term sustainable energy. So that's what then the cars just pay for that. It's like buying it's like you get a storage lot. That storage lot doesn't make money. It pays for the land.
Exactly.
Right? And then the land's the money maker, right? Yep. So I'm fully sure that's where Musk is headed. How do I get electricity to launch a freaking rocket? When I can get electricity to launch a rocket,
if anyone's going to figure it out, it's going to be him.
It will be. I mean, if anybody's going to figure it out, that dude's how his brain works is amazing. I love that.
And I do have to admit, like, it is kind of exciting right now. It's like, because, like, look, neither one of us was around when Henry Ford was like,
no,
we're
exactly.
not that old.
We're not.
We're old, but
we're
not
old
that
guys,
old.
but not
but
that
it's like,
old.
But it's like, he's like our Henry Ford. It's just what he's thinking and how out of the box and just bringing to the masses. It's
going to be fun.
But then you also have to think of how it all came about, right? And so, Tesla, when they started out, they made their money on carbon credits.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you look at the OEMs and what they were going to do or want to do or were going to do and get all in on electric, right? Because they want to sell their carbon credits like Tesla.
Yeah.
Right? And become a data company. Everyone wants to become a data company.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what Mary Barra is all in on. She's we're gonna make all this money on the data, and I think a good friend of mine, Steve Prather, said it best. And he used to be a Chevrolet dealer. It's like, look, it doesn't matter that the biggest problem for Ford, GM, Chrysler, probably others, but Ford, GM, Chrysler for sure, it doesn't matter what the hell they say. They're not going to be the CEO 5 years from now. So they're going to tell you whatever it is you want to hear to make stock price do this. No. It's not, none of this is real.
No.
And he's 100% right. So Elon has a vision, right? And that company is going to head towards that vision. He's intending to be the CEO, not just now, but 25 years from now. Mary Barra's not planning on being the CEO 10 years from now, not even 3.
No,
probably.
She's just got to get through this run.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that is you get down to it, that might be the problem with the country. But let's not get into that conversation at all.
Well,
but
why not?
Oh dear.
That's going to be
we didn't want to be controversial. We want to be controversial. Yeah, we're about to get right square in it
right now.
And guys, that may be another podcast in itself. Look, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time today, but guys, any kind of final thoughts for the dealerships that are watching and listening right now, who may be struggling with excessive inventory on their lots right now? What would be some advice you guys or final thoughts you'd like to share before we kind of wrap up this episode?
Figure how to figure a low payment.
Yeah.
And only for 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I would tell you your first loss is your best loss. Get them gone. Stick with what you know right now. Right. And we know ICE cars. Let's stick with what you know. You can't, there are forces outside of your control. And if you can't control it, don't be in it. There's guys making money. Don't be General Motors and chase the guy that's making money because he's figured it out, right? You stick with what you know and sell the way you know how to sell right now. Because this is a very volatile thing. And once I got rid of all my EVs, I'd have 2 or 3.
Yeah, people are going to buy them. There's going to be a market for them.
Yeah.
But it can't be created by the government.
No, it can't. It has to be created by the market.
By the market. And if it's like anything else. If the market's there, feed the market.
Right.
Solve the problem. But if the market isn't there, don't create a problem that you can't solve.
Don't be blockchain.
Yeah, right.
Don't be a problem looking for a solution.
Right.
Don't be our solution looking for a problem, rather.
Yeah, and then the leadership of how that all has come about is difficult and convoluted as well. Is why are we going down this path, right? why did the OEMs automatically?
Because the EP, I mean, everybody thinks everybody thinks, and we're getting off into this thing, but everybody thinks that ICE vehicles cause all these carbon problems. They really don't.
True.
That's not the truth.
They burn cleaner now than ever.
Right, but do you know what it takes to get the lithium, the nickel, and all the crap that that's a whole environmental destruction. Oh my!
To make a 1,000-pound battery.
That's environmental destruction at a scale that you've never seen before. Go on Google and just look at nickel mine from the air.
Remember strip mining?
And
how they got rid of that? This is times 10.
Times 10, 100%. It's going to destroy that land is destroyed for your lifetime and every kid probably for the next 10 kids' lifetime.
So when you think of what you just said, take that in consideration. You take in consideration what you've said of the lifetime and then what you have to do to dispose of this thing. We have created a problem that never needed to exist.
Exactly.
Why? Because we're running out of oil?
No, we're not even close. I know it's complete. It's completely made up, and you can get into a whole host of things why it got made up. We're going to stay out of that because that's another podcast and maybe 3. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you do the one clean energy thing that assuming that oil and gas is not clean energy because it kind of is.
It is,
but the one clean energy thing that might make it is fuel cell.
That's what I always thought too.
Yeah, fuel cells a long-term solution to this, or a long-term alternative. I'm not going to call it a solution because I don't think we need a solution, but it's a long-term. It's a long-term alternative,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so fuel cell could make this could because it's like gas when it burns off and it goes away. There's no disposal problem. You have a very small electricity battery, and the fuel cell creates the rest. So, and Toyota's into that.
Yep.
And if Toyota's in it, they think it's going to be a good deal 100 years from now.
So when I was in China back in 2014, idea was to globe hop with the OEMs in emerging markets to provide them marketing reporting. And I'm over in Beijing or Shanghai and get there, and the guy I'm working with is a Singaporean, and he was with ADP. He ran Asia Pac for ADP, and when his contract ran out, he's like, okay, let's try to do something with this idea. So I show up, and you've got all this smog, and they're talking about the Tesla and the electric vehicle, and I'm like, Peng, how do the Chinese make electricity? Because their natural resources aren't there. They've got a lot of issues and problems. Well, they burn coal. They burn black coal. So let me get this straight. They burn black, dirty coal to make electricity so the cars that they're powering don't emit smog, CO2. Yeah. Well, then you knew for right then that this wasn't about the environment. Man.
No, not at all.
And Peng's like, Rob, what they're really going to do is go hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
And so they put us down, they tricked us. This is another podcast in and of itself too. So I wouldn't even. Sorry.
I'm gonna wrap you guys up right here.
I caught myself.
This is exactly.
I'm an old guy that knows when he's going off the edge.
This is exactly
unlike something we've had for the last 4 years. But that's neither here nor there. We shouldn't go there.
Yeah, right. We will. We will.
Hey, DC Nation, we really appreciate you guys watching today's episode. One of the biggest compliments you can ever give us up here is to share the show. It really is the biggest way that you can say, hey, thanks, we liked it, we enjoyed it, we want to see more of it. If there is a colleague, a manager, or a friend that needs to see some portion of today's conversation, share the show. It means so much to us.
Real quick, before we leave, here's an idea. We should have send us your questions to an email address because our audience probably has a lot.
Yeah. There you go. You guys want us
that's a new idea.
Yeah.
We'll have to get on that one next
Suggestion
time.
box.
Yeah, suggestion box.
We're definitely Larry, they can visit the website to see.
Yeah, they can visit the website. It'll be up soon. It'll be up probably in the next from this day. Well, it'll be up. By the time you see this, it'll be up. Yeah.
And the website
website is TheDealerCast.com. You can go to TheDealerCast.com. You can send in you'll be able to send, we'll have questions at TheDealerCast@TheDealerCast.com. You'll be able to find it through TheDealerCast.com, and you'll be able to, read about it, catch the episodes there. It's turned out fantastic. I think you guys will like the website, like the and if you're like the whole just vibe between here. I mean, if you're like me, you're listening to this working out in the gym. So that's the best time for me to listen. So go to TheDealerCast.com. If you have questions, send them to us. We're happy to take questions. But most importantly, thank you for your time. Sharing your time. There is no time, and there's nothing more precious than time. And there's just no time in the car business today. There was never any. There's now less. If that was even possible, now there is definitely less. So sharing your time with us anytime you give us is thank you. From the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of everybody's heart here, I'm absolutely certain that
your black heart.
Yes. Hey, easy. I'm trying to be the kinder, gentler guy, right? Come on.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us on this episode. You all have an amazing day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Old Guys Know Shit podcast with your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.